I stood at the front of the conference room with my presentation clicker in one hand and my notes in the other. The quarterly review slides were perfect. I had checked them 3 times that morning. My voice was steady as I explained the cost reduction strategy one had developed. Then I said the word project. With my slight Midwest accent, it came out sounding different than how everyone else said it. A ripple of quiet laughter moved through the room. I kept talking. Tried to ignore it. But then Elaine Vortman, my supervisor for 3 years, leaned back in her chair. She smiled. Not a kind smile. The kind that cuts. Maybe we should leave the client-facing work to people who sound more professional, she said. The room went silent. Then someone laughed nervously. Kevin Blythe, the team lead, had his phone pointed at me. Recording. My face burned. I finished the presentation somehow, but something inside me shifted. Not broke. Shifted. I walked back to my desk in complete silence. My hands were shaking, but I kept them hidden under the table. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I titled it Documentation. Then I went back through my emails. Found every message where my suggestions were ignored. Every project I completed that someone else took credit for. Every time my accent was mentioned in writing. I made copies of everything. Saved them to a private cloud account. Then I opened a new document and wrote down exactly what happened in that conference room. The date. The time. The names of everyone present. Kevin's recording. Elaine's exact words. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning protection. Because I had learned something important in my career. People who mock you publicly think you're powerless. They're usually wrong. They just haven't learned it yet. I remembered my first internship 7 years ago. I was 22 and fresh out of college. The company was small but growing fast. They needed someone who could organize chaos into systems. I was good at that. Really good. My accent had never been a problem there. My supervisor back then told me something I never forgot. People underestimate quiet competence. Use it. I did. I watched. I learned. I documented. And when the company nearly collapsed from poor record keeping, I had everything they needed to rebuild. Organized. Accessible. Accurate. They promoted me twice in 1 year. Not because I was loud. Because I was essential. I left that company to join this one 3 years ago. For better pay and bigger challenges. But I brought those lessons with me. The ones about being underestimated. About documentation. About patience. Now I needed them more than ever. The next morning, Elaine called a meeting with Paige Renner from HR. I wasn't invited. But Dylan Crowhurst, the quiet accountant who sat 2 desks away from me, overheard parts of their conversation. He stopped by my desk later that afternoon. She's bragging, he said quietly. About keeping people in line. About maintaining standards. He didn't say more. Didn't need to. I thanked him and went back to my work. But I added a note to my documentation file. Elaine's pattern of behavior. Her need for control. The way she dismissed talent she felt threatened by. Dylan watched me type for a moment. Then he said something unexpected. You're smarter than she thinks. I looked up. He was already walking away. But I saw something in his expression. Recognition maybe. Or respect. Either way, I wasn't as alone as I thought. 2 weeks later, I delivered a client presentation that Elaine had originally planned to do herself. She had a scheduling conflict at the last minute, so she sent me instead. With only 2 hours notice. The client was a major pharmaceutical company. The presentation covered supply chain optimization. My specialty. I walked them through cost projections, implementation timelines, and risk mitigation strategies. The client asked sharp questions. I answered every one. At the end, the lead executive smiled. This is exactly what we needed. Thank you for the clarity. I returned to the office feeling cautiously optimistic. Then Elaine called a team meeting. Great news everyone. The pharmaceutical contract is moving forward. Our strategy really impressed them. She didn't mention my name once. Kevin nodded along. Others congratulated her. I said nothing. Just went back to my desk. And added another entry to my documentation file. Complete with the client's email praising my specific contributions. I started sending strategic suggestions in writing. Small improvements to workflows. Better client communication protocols. Cost-saving measures that wouldn't disrupt operations. Elaine ignored most of them publicly. But I noticed something interesting. She implemented several of my ideas quietly. without crediting me, without even acknowledging the suggestions came from me. But the improvements happened. I documented every instance. Original suggestion email. Date of implementation. Results. I wasn't doing this to prove anything to her. I was building a record. Of competence. Of contribution. Of value. Dylan noticed. "You're playing chess while everyone else plays checkers," he said one afternoon. I smiled. Didn't confirm or deny, but he was right. I was thinking several moves ahead, and I had a feeling I'd need every advantage I could gather. Something was coming. I could feel it. A shift in the air. The announcement came on a Monday morning. Company-wide email from the board of directors. New CEO appointed. Madeline Hartrow. Effective in 2 weeks. The name hit me like electricity. Hartrow. I knew that name. 8 years ago, I volunteered with a community program that helped refugees and immigrants adapt to professional environments in America. One of the families I worked with was named Hartrow. They had a daughter. Brilliant. Determined. She had been studying business and international relations. She told me once that people who mocked accents usually feared silence, because silence meant someone was watching, remembering. I thought about that conversation. Wondered if it could possibly be the same person. The odds seemed impossible, but the name stuck in my mind. 2 weeks later, Madeline Hartrow walked into our office for the first time, and my heart stopped. It was her. Older. More polished. But unmistakably the same woman I had mentored 8 years ago. Madeline's first day included individual meetings with each department. When she reached our team, Elaine presented our quarterly results with her usual confidence. But Madeline asked detailed questions. Specific ones. About project timelines. Budget allocations. Client satisfaction metrics. Elaine stumbled through several answers. Then Madeline turned to the room. "Who manages the operational documentation?" Silence. Everyone looked at each other. Then Dylan spoke. "Clara does. She maintains all our project records." Madeline's eyes found mine. She held my gaze for just a moment. "Clara, would you mind sharing your documentation system with me? I'd like to understand how information flows through this department." My throat was dry but my voice came out steady. "Of course. I can send you everything this afternoon." "Perfect," she said. Then she looked back at Elaine. "I'd like to see both versions. Your reports and Clara's records. For comparison." The room temperature dropped about 10 degrees. Elaine's smile looked frozen. I spent that evening preparing the most organized report of my career. Every project. Every outcome. Every suggestion I had made and whether it was implemented. Every client interaction. All of it backed by emails, timestamps, and measurable results. I didn't editorialize. Didn't add commentary. Just presented facts. Clear. Comprehensive. Undeniable. The next morning, I sent it to Madeline. 3 hours later, she replied, "This is exceptional work. Can we schedule a meeting tomorrow at 2? I agreed. When I walked into her office the next day, she had my report printed out. Marked with highlighter. Notes in the margins. "You've been here 3 years, she said. Not a question. A statement. Yes. And in that time, you've contributed to every major client contract. Designed 3 cost-saving protocols. And maintained documentation that most companies would pay consultants to create." I nodded. She leaned forward. "Why haven't you been promoted?" I chose my words carefully. "I've focused on doing good work. The rest hasn't been a priority." Madeline announced a department-wide operational review. Everyone needed to submit detailed project summaries, individual contributions, outcomes, supporting documentation. The announcement caused immediate panic. Kevin looked stressed. Others started frantically organizing files. Elaine tried to appear calm but her jaw was tight. I had everything ready within an hour. 3 years of meticulous records. Every project clearly attributed. Every result documented. I submitted my report quietly. Then I watched as others struggled to compile information they should have been tracking all along. Dylan submitted his report quickly too. He gave me a small nod as he walked past my desk. Over the next week, Madeline conducted individual interviews. Asked people to explain their contributions. Some could. Many couldn't. Elaine's interview lasted 45 minutes. She came out looking pale. When it was my turn, Madeline asked me 3 questions. All about systems, process, documentation philosophy. I answered honestly. The meeting lasted 15 minutes. When I left, she was smiling. Dylan approached me in the break room a week later. He looked around carefully before speaking. I need to tell you something. About the budget discrepancies from last quarter. My heart rate picked up but I kept my face neutral. What about them? Elaine approved several expenses that weren't properly documented. I flagged them but she told me not to worry about it. Said it was all approved at higher levels. He paused. It wasn't. I checked. I absorbed this information slowly. Do you have records? Everything. I document everything. He smiled slightly. Learned it from watching you. We didn't discuss it further. But that afternoon, I received an email from Dylan. Just a forwarded chain. Budget approvals. Discrepancies. Elaine's signature on questionable expenses. And a note at the bottom, thought you should know. I saved everything to my documentation file. Then I sent Dylan a simple reply. Thank you. 2 words. But they meant everything. I wasn't alone anymore. I had an ally who understood the value of facts. A crisis emerged the following Tuesday. A major client was threatening to pull their contract. A deadline had been missed. Deliverables weren't matching specifications. Elaine immediately called an emergency meeting. She tried to deflect blame. Mentioned staffing issues, budget constraints, external factors. Madeline listened silently. Then she asked a simple question. Who was the project lead? Elaine hesitated. It was a team effort. Who signed off on the timeline? Silence. Then Dylan spoke. Clara flagged concerns about this project 3 weeks ago. She sent an email outlining risks and suggesting alternative timelines. Everyone turned to look at me. I pulled up my laptop, found the email, forwarded it to Madeline. She read it, then looked at Elaine. Why wasn't this addressed? Elaine had no answer. Madeline turned to me. Can you fix it? I thought for exactly 3 seconds. Yes. But I'll need direct client access and decision-making authority for this project. Done, Madeline said. Just like that. The power in the room shifted. I had been given authority. And everyone knew it. I fixed the client crisis in 4 days. Reorganized deliverables. Adjusted timelines. Communicated directly with their team. They were satisfied. Contract secured. When I presented the resolution in our next team meeting, Elaine tried to take credit. Our team really pulled together on this one. But before she could continue, Madeline interrupted. Clara resolved this independently, with no support from existing project leadership. She let that sentence hang in the air. Then added quietly, we value every voice here. Especially voices that solve problems instead of creating them. The room went absolutely silent. Kevin stopped typing. Paige from HR wrote something down. And Elaine's face went red. I kept my expression neutral. But inside, something was happening. The ground was shifting. Power was redistributing. And for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Because I had learned something important. Patience isn't weakness. It's strategy. And my strategy was working. Helen Abraxi, a board member I had only met twice, requested a meeting with me. Just the 2 of us. Coffee at a place near the office. I agreed, curious. We met on a Thursday morning. She ordered an espresso. I got tea. She got straight to the point. Madeline speaks highly of you. Says you have the most organized operational records she's ever seen. I thanked her. I'd like to understand something, Helena continued. You've been here 3 years. Excellent performance reviews. Multiple client successes. Why haven't you advanced? I chose honesty. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask my supervisor. Helena smiled. I'm asking you. I paused. Then decided to trust my instincts. I focus on results. Sometimes that doesn't align with taking credit loudly. She nodded slowly. Madeline is restructuring leadership. She values documentation, accountability, results over politics. She finished her espresso. Keep doing what you're doing. As she left, I realized something important. I was being evaluated for something bigger, and the evaluation was going well. The pharmaceutical client from weeks ago requested me specifically for their next project. Sent an email directly to Madeline. We were impressed with Clara Jensen's work. We'd prefer to continue working with her directly on future initiatives. Madeline forwarded the email to me, then copied Elaine, with a simple note. Clara, please coordinate directly with them moving forward. Elaine, Let's discuss project allocation in our next meeting. I read the email 3 times. Direct client relationship. No intermediary. No supervisor filtering communication. This was real authority, not just task delegation. When I walked past Elaine's office later that day, she was on the phone. Her voice was tense, defensive. I didn't stop to listen. Didn't need to. The shift was visible now, tangible, and it was accelerating. That evening, Dylan sent me a message. Congratulations. About time. I smiled. Sent back a simple thumbs up. Then I updated my documentation file. Added the client email. The direct relationship. The expanding authority. Everything was moving exactly as it needed to. Aaron Truce, the temporary employee who had been with us for 3 weeks, requested a meeting with me. I barely knew him. He worked in a different section. Kept to himself mostly. We met in a small conference room. He closed the door. I need to tell you something, he said. I'm not actually a temporary employee. I'm an internal consultant. Madeline brought me in to assess departmental efficiency and leadership effectiveness. My stomach tightened, but I kept my face calm. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been observing for 3 weeks. And I've seen something worth noting. He pulled out a tablet. Showed me documented observations. Elaine's behavior. Her dismissiveness towards certain team members. Her habit of taking credit. The accent mockery incident. Everything. I've been documenting, he said. Just like you have. I looked at him carefully. What happens now? Now Madeline has 2 independent sources confirming the same patterns. That's not coincidence. That's evidence. He stood up. Keep doing what you're doing. The final pieces are falling into place. He left. And I sat there realizing the game had been bigger than I knew. Madeline restructured project leadership the following week. New assignments. New reporting lines. New authorities. I was given oversight of 3 major client accounts. Direct reporting to Madeline. Autonomous decision-making within approved parameters. Elaine was moved to an advisory role. No direct reports. No budget authority. Just consultation. The announcement was made in a brief email. Professional. Clean. Devastating. I watched Elaine read it at her desk. Saw her face go pale. Saw her hands shake slightly. Kevin looked confused. Others whispered. Dylan caught my eye across the room. Gave the smallest smile. That afternoon, I moved to a different office. Bigger. Better view. My name went on the door. Clara Jensen, Senior Operations Manager. I stood in the doorway for a moment. Took it in. Then I got to work. Because titles meant nothing without results. And I had 3 major accounts that needed attention. The victory was real. But it wasn't complete. Not yet. Elaine requested a meeting with me. In my new office. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She sat down across from my desk. Tried to appear casual. Failed. I wanted to clear the air, she said. I waited. I think there's been some miscommunication. Some misunderstandings about project attributions and team dynamics. I kept my face neutral. What kind of misunderstandings? People have been suggesting that I didn't properly acknowledge contributions. That's not true. I always valued team input. She was rewriting history. In real time. Do you have documentation of that? I asked quietly. She blinked. Documentation? Emails. Meeting notes. Performance reviews. Anything showing how you acknowledged specific contributions. Silence. I leaned forward slightly. I have documentation. 3 years of it. Every project. Every suggestion. Every outcome. All timestamped and verifiable. Her face changed. Are you threatening me? No. I'm informing you. Facts aren't threats. They're just facts. She stood up. Left without another word. I sat back in my chair. That conversation had been necessary. A boundary. A line. She needed to know I wasn't the same person she mocked 3 months ago. I had evolved. And there was no going back. I implemented new operational protocols over the next 2 weeks. Proper project attribution. Clear documentation requirements. Regular progress reviews. Everything transparent. Everything tracked. Several people thanked me privately. Said they felt more secure. More valued. Dylan was particularly enthusiastic. This is how it should have always been. Elaine tried to push back. Sent emails questioning the new requirements. Called them excessive. Bureaucratic. But Madeline supported every change. Clara's protocols align with industry best practices. We'll continue implementation. The client relationships strengthened. Projects moved smoothly. Team morale improved visibly. And Elaine's influence continued to erode. Not because I attacked her, but because better systems simply worked better. One afternoon, Tessa Vaughn, our key pharmaceutical client, sent me an email. Your professionalism and clear communication have been refreshing. We're recommending your company to 3 other organizations. I forwarded it to Madeline. She replied within minutes. Well done. This is exactly the reputation we want to build. Madeline held a company-wide meeting at the end of the quarter. She stood at the front of the conference room. Calm. Authoritative. I've been here 3 months. And I've learned something important about this organization. Everyone leaned forward slightly. We have exceptional talent. But that talent hasn't always been recognized or utilized effectively. She paused. Moving forward, we're implementing merit-based advancement. Clear criteria. Transparent evaluation. No favoritism. No politics. She looked directly at me. Clara Jensen exemplifies the kind of professional excellence we want to cultivate. Her documentation, client relationships, and operational improvements have set a new standard. The room erupted in applause. I felt my face flash, but I kept my composure. After the meeting, people approached me, congratulated me, asked questions about my processes. Kevin kept his distance. Elaine left early. And I realized something profound. Respect earned through competence was unshakable. It couldn't be taken away, because it was built on something real. Not just words. Results. And everyone could see them. Elaine made one final attempt to regain authority. She scheduled a meeting with Helena Braxley and other board members. Claimed there were concerns about the new operational direction. About moving too fast. About alienating experienced leadership. Helena called me afterward. She tried to undermine you. Suggested you were inexperienced. Too aggressive with changes. I felt my chest tighten. What did you tell her? I asked for specific examples. Documentation. Evidence of problems. Helena's voice was dry. She had none. Just vague concerns and hurt feelings. What happens now? Now the board formally reviews her performance. Which, according to Aaron's assessment and your documentation, shows a 3-year pattern of poor leadership and misattribution of work. Helena paused. This ends in one of 2 ways. She accepts a reduced role gracefully, or she's asked to leave. Either way, her authority is finished. I thanked her. After the call ended, I sat quietly. This was really happening. Not revenge. Just consequences. Natural. Inevitable. Fair. And I hadn't needed to destroy her. Just do excellent work. And let facts speak. Elaine called in sick for 3 days. When she returned, she looked different. Smaller somehow. Defeated. She avoided eye contact. Worked quietly at her desk. Didn't attend meetings. I felt no satisfaction seeing her like this. Just a strange emptiness. She had made choices. Created situations. Now she lived with outcomes. Dylan stopped by my office. How do you feel? I thought about it. Tired. Ready to move forward. No triumph. Triumph over what? I just wanted to do good work without being mocked or undermined. That's not victory. It's just baseline respect. He nodded. You're more mature than I would be. Maybe. Or maybe I had learned something she hadn't. That power built on demeaning others is temporary. But power built on competence lasts. I had the latter. And it felt more solid than any revenge could ever be. The company was changing. Systems were improving. And I was part of building something better. That was enough. The board made their decision on a Monday morning. Elaine was formally transitioned to a non-supervisory role. Project coordinator. No direct reports. No budget authority. No client relationships. Her new office was smaller. In a different building. The email announcement was brief and professional. But everyone understood what it meant. Madeline held a team meeting that afternoon. Leadership transitions are always difficult. But they're necessary when organizational needs evolve. She looked at me. Clara will assume full operational leadership for this department. Effective immediately. More applause. More congratulations. But I felt the weight of it. The responsibility. The expectations. After the meeting, Madeline pulled me aside. You've earned this. Not through politics. Through excellence. Remember that when things get difficult. I promised I would. That evening, I walked through the office one last time before leaving. Saw my name on the door. Saw the team working under new protocols. Saw real respect in people's eyes. And I felt something powerful. Not just vindication. Purpose. I had survived mockery, documented injustice, and emerged stronger. Not louder, stronger. Elaine's last day in her supervisory capacity was quiet. No farewell party. No speeches. Just a folder cleaned out and a badge deactivated. I saw her leaving the building with a box. She looked at me once. I nodded. No smile. No gloating. Just acknowledgement. Two professionals who had been on different paths. She walked away. I went back to my office. Found an email from Madeline waiting. I want you to lead a new initiative. Anti-discrimination protocols for workplace communications, including protections around accents, dialects, and regional speech patterns. I read it twice, then replied, I'd be honored, because that was the real victory. Not just advancing my own career, but changing the system. Making it safer for the next person. For everyone who got mocked, dismissed, underestimated. I wouldn't just succeed. I'd leave the organization better than I found it. That night, Dylan sent me a message. You changed everything. You know that, right? I thought about it. Typed back. We changed everything. Couldn't have done it alone. Because that was true too. Victory wasn't solitary. It was built on allies, documentation, strategy, and patience. 6 months later, I stood in front of the board presenting the new workplace standards we had developed. Clear protocols, measurable outcomes, training programs, everything designed to create respect, dignity, fairness. Madeline sat at the table, smiled. Helena asked sharp questions. I answered every one. At the end, they approved everything unanimously. As I walked out, I passed the conference room where Elaine had mocked my accent. The memory felt distant now, not painful, just factual. A moment that happened. That led to change. That taught me something valuable about power. Real power isn't loud. It's not cruel. It doesn't mock or diminish. Real power is competence, documentation, strategy, patience, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing you earned everything you have. I walked to my office, saw my name on the door, sat down at my desk, and smiled. Not because I had defeated anyone, but because I had become exactly who I needed to be. Stronger, wiser, better. And in the process, I had made the organization better too. That was the real victory. The one that mattered. The one that lasted.